Hello everyone. Welcome to Voice of the Wild. Today we have Dr. P.U. Anthony Sir with us. A small introduction is not enough to talk about him, but I'll do my best. He is a former zoology professor from Christ Deemed to be University, Bangalore, and an active environmentalist who is also the founder of Green Army, a students' forum spreading awareness among the locals. Over the year, the Green Army has built a solid reputation for itself and has been associated with many government bodies. He is indeed an inspiring leader who is molding India's future since 1988. He has been a part of various wildlife surveys that assisted habitats across the country and regularly contributes scientific articles to various national dailies such as Deccan Herald. Known for his cutting-edge research in biodiversity, he has been awarded research projects from agencies like Quality Council of India, Japan Bank of International Cooperation, and the National Referral Center for Lead Poisoning in India. With so many contributions to nature conservation, it comes as no surprise that he has been awarded the Green Teacher Award 2020 by Sanctuary Asia. Encouraging young minds, no matter the stream or educational background, and shaping them into future nature enthusiasts. There is so much to know about his work and the work done by the Green Army as well. We are so happy and delighted to have you here and are looking forward to our motivational talk. And please stay with us till the end to hear our great announcement. Welcome, sir. We are looking forward to this. We were looking forward to this and are glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Muskan. I am very happy to be with you.
Yes, sir. So firstly, I would like to ask you, most people remember the things they have done practically or have a hand-on experience more than what is taught to them verbally. Teaching children what it means to be environmentally aware during this time when the climate crisis is a global threat is very important. But it will be more lasting if teachers can lead by example. So I would like to ask you, what kind of changes can we make in our education system to better serve or get young generation more interested and aware about our nature and environmental crisis?
Okay. I feel this is a very good question to open our discussion. Because I am preparing one article also on the same issue. And if I recall correctly, yeah, environmental education was made compulsory in formal education of Indian schools through a Supreme Court order in 2003, I think. And in 2013, it was made a mandatory subject by UGC at the UG level in all the colleges and universities in India. But unfortunately, majority of our institutions conduct classes in this subject as a ritual only. Often they arrange it as a combined lecture in an auditorium or sometimes some reading sessions, and they end with an online multiple choice examination. They do it very ritualistically just to satisfy the conditions put forward by UGC. And this year we are celebrating the centenary year of Vishwabharati University started by Tagore. The guiding principle of this little school is that the highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but it should make our life in harmony with all existence. Ever since the inception of Vishwabharati, we had several commissions appointed by the India government to look into the revamping of higher education in our country. Gradually, India's higher education has witnessed manifold increase in its institutional capacity. In the recent past, Indian education, I think, has been recognized as a sunrise sector for investment. So our thinkers and commissions and people who suggest review measures in the higher education, they are looking at a kind of business and investment. And today, miserably, our progress in the field is largely stuffing the mind with information unrelated to life. And aptitude-based learning is ignored. The true purpose of education is to make minds and not careers. And I think we should be able to teach our children. We should be able to take our children to the realms of mystery beyond the prescribed syllabus, for which we need to provide them with plenty of tactile experiences outside the four walls of the classrooms. And the general attitude of contempt towards traditional learning on the part of the parents and also the educational administrators has to change, I think. And we have to go beyond the four walls of the classroom. Let students learn by experiencing things outside the classrooms. And instead of concentrating too much of attention on infrastructure development, we have to see that education is made in a simple background with whatever visions of Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, all these Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, all these educational stalwarts of our country.
Yes, sir. I absolutely agree with you, sir. Okay. Next, I would like to ask you. We often see some water bodies around us being polluted, but not really take any actions towards it. We are like, oh, someone should do something about it, or what can we do? It's municipalities look out. But you and your team of Green Army decided to do it otherwise. You helped clean up and restore the Bairasandra Lake in Bangalore. So I would like to ask you, sir, how did you get students and people around the water body involved in this, and what were the challenges you faced?
Yeah, Bairasandra Lake is a lake very close to our Christ University in Bangalore. And some of my students only took the initiative for this. Actually, I am not very much responsible for this initiative. Some 3 or 4 students once, maybe some 4 or 5 years back, they came to me in the department and they suggested that, sir, simply meetings in the afternoon, discussing issues, just going for field trips, bird watching, all that won't be sufficient. We have to do something concrete in the water conservation also, and also in the field of rectification of water pollution, all that. So they asked me, what can we do about this? I told you, find out a lake which is close to our lake, close to our university, where it will be easily accessible for you people to go and monitor the work happening there. So 3 or 4 of them together started like this. Then I gave them some feedbacks as to how to proceed. They used to visit the residential areas around the lake. They will give a proper awareness to them not to throw the waste into the lake. And they approach in the field of water pollution and conservation in Bangalore, like Harini Nagendra from Asim Premji University, Dr. T.V. Ramachandra from Indian Institute of Science. All these people, they themselves went and contacted. And I just guided them only. And the thing went on for the last 4 or 5 years. And incidentally, the Karnataka government has taken me as a honorary warden for the same lake also, so that I can collaborate with the local corporator and continue the work.
Oh, sir, that's really amazing that your students took it upon them to spread awareness about it. That's really amazing.
This happened. Yeah, correct. Really, I admire them for that.
Nextly, I would like to ask you, I'm sure you have educated a lot of young budding minds and filled their lives with unforgettable experiences, or even have a lifelong hobbies such as birding, herping, and entomology. Tell us about your journey in creating the Green Army and the impact it is having on other educators and students.
Actually, Green Army, we thought of starting this in the year 2000, and 2000 itself we had a meeting also, in which only around 13 students attended. I gave this idea in my classes, but many were not takers for it. Only just 13 students came to attend the first meeting we called for this. And slowly it grew. But my PhD was on birds only, the birds of the Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, their ecology only I studied. And I was fascinated by the world of birds from my childhood itself. So when every new batch comes to the college, I used to take them for the first practical class in the campus of the university, where we have plenty of green vegetation. And I'll be giving the first class there only. And there I will give an introduction to what are the benefits of bird watching, what are the benefits of nature walk in life, how they can overcome their stress, even after leading a family life. If they have a good hobby like this, how can they overcome their problems and stresses in life? So this way, they used to come with me, and I taught them several hobbies for life like this, for self-satisfaction and also to avoid their unwanted stress in life. And this became a trend, and from every batch, there used to be at least some four or five students who will get highly motivated, and they will remain in the field. They will go for higher inputs from other NGOs in Bangalore, like Center for Wildlife Studies, NCBS, so many other people. They will contact a lot of experts in the field, and they develop their own capacity, and they will slowly train the new coming batches.
Yes, sir. Because even I remember I started birding uh, in my college days, and then after that I was highly motivated, and I am in this field, and I'm sure your students are doing that as well, and that will surely stay with them for life. Okay, and now I would like to ask you. You are a man of science, and it is more likely to have students from this field itself getting involved in nature activities. How have you been motivating or getting students from other streams interested in this as well?
Yeah, that is actually I started this work with our biology students only. But when we move around in the campus looking through the binocular in large groups like that, all other students from different streams will be watching us. And they didn't know what we are doing, what are we looking at, why we are looking into the sky. All that they, they will approach us, and at least some of the students will be there who are friends of them. And by word of mouth, it goes, and it goes to different batches. And at the beginning of every academic year, when we start the first Green Army meeting, before that, we used to send notices to all other classes, not only to science classes, other classes also we will send. And in the first meeting, several will come, hundreds of them will come. But after two or three meetings like that, they will see that what they intended, either they wanted to make a girlfriend or they wanted to mingle with others in some other way outside the meetings. They will see that what their purpose is not working out, and slowly many of them will drop away. But at last, at least some 100 to 200 students every year used to be regularly attending the meetings, attend our discussions in the afternoon sessions. And most of them are from other streams other than the science stream.
Yeah, that's really good. Because once they get interested and involved, mostly other than students who are not from science background, they can get others involved as well, sharing their experiences, and that is really great. I've seen that happening, and that is really good. So we should actually motivate others as well to get into birding and entomology and herping as well.
Yeah, it should not be only biology students. It should be the other field. In fact, tell me.
No, sir, I was telling you that not just science students should be involved in this. Everyone should be involved in this because it is our environment.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, in Bangalore, if you looked at most of the people who are into birding, herping, all these nature studies, it is mostly non-biology students, non-biology youngsters, especially from the software field. Yeah, because day before yesterday, that global backyard bird count was happening. And yeah, I attended one session in nearby lake. Two sessions I attended. And the people who were leading, the youngsters who were leading, they were all from software background. They were so much educated and they are so much informed about this field, much better than the biology people.
Yes, sir, I totally agree to that as well. Now, since we are on the topic of motivation, what motivated you to be an environmentalist? And did you have a professor like yourself to get you interested into environment?
Yeah, I had a professor. I had a very good professor who made me got interested into environmental field. But before that, I was born and brought up in Wayanad district of Kerala. It is a hill district, mostly dominated by tribal people. And in Wayanad, when I used to have my schooling, throughout my schooling, I used to walk through the paddy fields. A lot of paddy fields are there, hill stations are there. And I had to walk every day for around 3 kilometers to my school, my high school. And I will be always watching the nature around me. And I will be usually studying them. I will be observing them. In whatever way possible, I will like just observe their behavior only. So that way, from my childhood, I was interested in this only. And my professor, one Dr. K.T. Vijayamadhavan, he was the professor of my undergraduate studies in St. Joseph's College, Devagiri in Calicut. And he only introduced this environmental studies for the first time in Kerala in one of the colleges. MSc in environmental biology, he only initiated. And he was a very motivating person, inspiring person. And whenever a light is switched on in the lab or any classrooms, if it is not dark, if it is switched on like that, he used to come and scold us. And he only will go and switch it off. He taught us the value of electricity, the value of water, the value of time, and the value of money, food, everything. So I learned many lessons from my professor. I wanted it to pass it on to my own students also. And in bird watching, one of my professor called Dr. Zacharias, who was my PhD guide, he only introduced me into the world of these wild animals and the forests. So both these professors and my childhood, even my mother, she was just inadvertently teaching me conservation because she had only rudimentary resources and she had around 8 children to feed and the value of food and the value of materials I realized from my childhood itself.
Yes, sir. So I am curious to know from you two of your most unforgettable experiences in the field. I am sure you have a lot of them, but I would like to know a few.
Yeah, I have a lot of them. I will just share a few experiences, just one or two. The After this Green Army discussions in the Saturday afternoons in our college, many of the students will be discussing various issues, how they can bring a change in the campus and outside. And these meetings, they decided that they will carry their own cup, that tumbler for having tea. We have several eateries in our campus, and everywhere they are giving these paper cups only. And a lot of paper cups will go waste. They will throw into the dustbin. And these paper cups itself are covered by a thin plastic layer in the interior, isn't it? Some waxy or plastic layer is there. So it is harmful for health and also it is creating a lot of waste. So a few students decided that they will carry their own tumbler in their college bag to the classes and they will have tea and coffee in that only and they will wash it and keep it back. So this practice they started initially most of the students were laughing at them. Even the teachers also were thinking what foolishness they are doing every day carrying this. But slowly, I realized that I retired last May, in the month of May, I retired in 2020. Towards my retirement, that final year of my retirement, I saw at least around 30 to 40% of the teachers and the staff in the campus started bringing the tumblers, their own tumblers. And that initiative was started by a bunch of our Green Army students only. Maybe some 4 or 5 students started that. Slowly it spread into everybody. and they accepted that culture and started following that. That is one of the incident I remember. Another one, I had a student some 10 to 11 years back. He once, for a lunch break, when he went to his PG for having food, on the way, he found a snake charmer. He was on the roadside. This fellow was using some cobras for dancing and attracting people. And these cobras were dancing to the tune of his flute. And this boy immediately went and watched it for some time, and he got hold of that fellow. He got hold of that person, and one police person was walking on the road. With the help of that police, he took him in an auto with the snake, and he took him to a nearby police station in BTM layout near the college. And on the auto, this fellow called me. This boy called me to see whether I am in the college to accompany him. Unfortunately, I came home to have my lunch. I was not there. By the time I rushed back to the college, this boy went to the police station, handed him over to the police. But this fellow who was caught was also not aware of the matter that this is a wildlife crime. So yeah. So that fellow started helplessly crying all that. Then after advising, I told that boy, tell him to tell the police people to leave him like that because he has done it out of his. He was not knowing about this. So like that, there are incidents, many such incidents because of the time problem. I am sharing only these two.
Okay, it's really nice for you to have such experiences. It obviously stays with you forever. Can you tell us something about your new non-profitable Forest Watch?
Yeah, I have started one NGO in Wayanad, which is my own district from where I come. For the last 32 years, I was in Bangalore, but after my retirement, now I am planning to go back to my native in Wayanad, where I have to create environmental awareness among the school children. I think that is the age where we have to catch them. And if they educate their parents, things will have a lot of difference. My district is actually affected with a lot of environmental issues. There was something called this Gadgil Committee report about the conservation of Western Ghats. Gadgil and Kasturi Rangan, two people, they have suggested a lot of measures for the protection of Western Ghats. And once this report came out, the people in Wayanad were all very violent about the report. They never wanted such a report to be implemented because they were actually confused by some of the religious leaders and politicians who had their own vested interests, and they spread a propaganda that all the houses in the district should be painted green in color, and in the night time all houses near the forest periphery should switch off their electric light. All these kind of campaigns to confuse the people really.
Uh, s- Sir, is there some reason to color them green?
No, actually this recommendation was not there in Gadgil report at all. People, these political and religious leaders were making a propaganda like this. People didn't read this report at all. Common people in Wayanad, they are mostly illiterate. Farmers are there, and illiterate people are also there. Very much illiterate people are also there. But people, they wanted to confuse the farmers for their vested interest, so that they can, whatever encroached land they have in the forest periphery will not be affected. It will not come under the environmentally sensitive zone. No, what is that? ES is that environmental ecologically sensitive zone, forest periphery. So to avoid that, they were confusing and propagating false news. So this kind of mentality is slowly changing the people's attitude, and everybody is developing a kind of awareness to forest conservation. So I wanted to do something about this by creating awareness among the school children, college children, and the youngsters in Wayanad. That is the purpose by which I started this. One more thing is, I started this Green Army, and many of the students coming to Christ University to take biotechnology and go for higher studies in that. From that section, I have attracted a few students into wildlife. So their parents were really worried when this attitudinal change happened in the children. They were really worried. They wanted to have a good money fetching job, career for their children. They thought that I am spoiling their future. And in fact, a few of parents called me also and instructed me not to do like this and do not spoil their children's future. But if at all any of the child who has developed a passion for this forest conservation and wildlife conservation, I want to give them an opportunity in my own NGO. And most of the students, about 90% of the volunteers working for Forest Watch is our own students, my own all the students from Christ University only. They have a very good wildlife background. Most of them are they have finished their post graduation from NCBS, from universities abroad with good scholarships. They are all very good in this. So I am very confident that they will come and help me to continue with this work.
Yes, sir. I'm sure you'll be successful in this, and I wish you all the best for Forest Watch. Lastly, I would like to ask you an important piece of advice you would like to give to students as well as educators listening to this.
Yeah, I don't have much advice, but somehow our education is people are taking it for careers most often, and they feel that if that feeling is unfulfilled, the career is not properly accomplished and the money is not coming. Uh, if the money is not good, they will feel that they have selected a different field where they are failing in life. But just chasing money instead of chasing their passion, I think they will suffer for that in their future. Because education is not just for making money, and it won't get you far if you are looking for self improvement. If you are just making money, your life will be misery only. Because after reaching whatever economic profits and benefits and conveniences in life, if you look back and if you don't enjoy the work you are doing, you will be definitely in loss only. So whatever you study, you love it and you want it, and such an atmosphere should be made by the education. The system should change like that, and children should enjoy learning. If you enjoy learning, lifelong, it will give you happiness only. Even if you have minor problems of your family life and other issues, ultimately, life will be a great success for you if you chase your passion. So I advise all the children to know the surroundings, love your surroundings, and you should know that you are not self-sufficient. The things around you only make you to grow, and growing with the things around you will make you good citizens, for which the teachers also should show their interest. I think nowadays I have seen many of the teachers taking more interest in making extra money, going for additional coaching classes, doing real estate business. They are looking for the new brands of car which is available. I'm not blaming anybody blindly like that. I have seen many like that. But if such teachers are there, we can make generations of the children who enjoy life without any regret.
Wow, sir, that was really, really amazing and very motivating as well.
Okay, Muskan, thank you for your kind words.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. It was really refreshing to talk to you and to know your story. I am truly inspired by your story, and I am sure so is our audience listening to this. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
I hope all of you enjoyed this episode, and we have a great news for all of you. Soon we will be collaborating with Anthony Sir and his students to start up a podcast series of Voice of the Wild in South Indian languages such as Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada. So, stay tuned and see you next time.